Bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-da-ba-ba-dum. La 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 da dum bum 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 ba da da dum bum bum ba bum ba dum dum da 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 dun 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 da dun da da dum da dun 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 da dun da dun dun bum ba da 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 dun da da dum ba dun 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 da dun 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 dun. Hello, my friends. Hello, everyone. Have we started? Hi, Debbie. No, we just started. We have our friends from Australia and Ontario and Eastern Ontario. Wanda. Hi, Wanda. Western Australia. Tara. Hello from California. Hello, everyone. This is my, I don't know. I would call this if I hold it, it destroys the sound. So I'm going to use a remedy, okay? It's a tuning bar, and it's A440. It's something that my father had for years. So I inherited it. And I just realized today that since I don't have my tuning pipe, I have my tuning bar, and it's the same thing. So I just wanted to show you something kind of fun, that it does make a better sound when you strike it with a remedy, particularly when it's mercurius. But also, I've got this little bottle that one of the doctors gave me when I was in India at the Banerjee Foundation. And he got the little pellets. I don't know if you can see them very well. See the little pellets there? He wrote on them each member of my family, their first names. That's, I don't know, it was in his spare time. And he gave it to me. He asked me the name of my family members and he gave it to me. So these little pellets are what we call saclac, or blank pellets. And this is these are the kinds of pellets upon which the medicine is added to on the outside of them. So it's kind of interesting, and I thought you'd be interested in seeing that. So let's get down to business, shall we? My name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here every Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and I'm here for one reason and one reason only, to meet with my friends from all over the world and to discuss homeopathy, for me to teach you what I know, and I like to hear what you know as well. That's if you know nothing about homeopathy, or you know nothing about, it's the first time you've been with us tonight. If you do know me, and you're my friend already, welcome, friends. It's so good to see you. I love to see all the comments. I love to see you hopping in. Oh, good evening from Delray Beach, Florida. Skywhack landing. How fabulous is that? Delray, that's where I live. Delray. It's a great little town. Yep. Let's see where else is everyone is from here. Happy Monday, says Stacy. Someone from Maine. Oh, she's from Texas. And Francine from Newberry, Ohio. Hello from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Y'all, I have my first convert. My sister had a ganglion cyst. She asked to try homeopathic remedy. She just sent me a picture of her wrist and said, wow. I asked her if she was a believer and she said, yes, exclamation point. You bet. That's how you do it. Listen, we do want to convert people, don't we? But don't push it. If they want you, then they will find you and they will just notice. You don't want to push it too hard. You offer a little here, a little there. And if they are interested, then they go for it, right? Let's talk. Let's talk tonight about chest infections, shall we? Without the use of antibiotics. Well, interestingly, many chest infections are not even bacterial, they're viral. So why are we using antibiotics again if antibiotics are specific for bacterial infections? Well, I'll tell you why they use them, because what else are they going to do? I mean, I'm going to be honest. What else are they going to do? So what they do is they say, well, we're going to use this just in case it turns into an antibiotic or a bacterial infection, and then an antibiotic would be called for. Pretty interesting. The contortions that some medical people, intellectual and arguments that they have to contort themselves into in order to make some kind of argument on behalf of the drug that they're, excuse my French, pushing, is amazing. Now, do I push drugs? Do I push medicines? I encourage you to use them, but I don't get kickbacks. I don't get paid for it. Big difference, my friends. I don't have paid vacations, and I don't have a drug rep who comes to me with a very short skirt, bearing donuts, wearing her Christian Louboutin heels, convincing me, if I were a man, to use this particular drug. And I also have to tell you, my friends, since we have our materia medicas, we homeopaths, we know our medicines. We're not surprised when someone says, what do you mean statin drugs causes weak legs? What do you mean statin drugs ruins men's ability in the bedroom? What do you mean statin drugs cause women to be confused, mentally confused? That's not a side effect. And then the cardiologist does his work, his research that he should have done in the first place, and finds out that indeed those are side effects. What do you mean affects or causes dry eye syndrome that can be quite serious? What do you mean antibiotics cause food intolerances, so now the person can't eat wheat or dairy or so many other foods? How come the doctor who prescribes that doesn't know this stuff? How come the homeopath knows all the downsides of the homeopathic medicines? Because we know our medicines. Our medicines don't change. In 1799, if an adult had bronchitis, you would likely give that person bryonia. What if it was 1823 and now it's a child who has bronchitis? Would you still consider giving him bryonia? Of course. What about 1870 and it's an elderly man and he has bronchitis? Would you give him bryonia? Yes. How about 1910? How about 1930? It's bryonia, it's bryonia, it's bryonia. 1970, 1968, 1988, 1999, 2021, 2022, it's bryonia. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's the only remedy, but it's one of the top remedies. Nothing changes. This is not magpie medicine. This is not, ooh, shiny new object. Well, I have to choose this shiny new object because they just took off the drug that I've been using for the last 10 years. They had to take it off because, well, it wasn't enough money, so they're replacing it with this one instead. There wasn't enough revenue from that. Or, well, we did find it was killing people, so, well, we got to take that off the market. That's the other market. That's the other set of, get this word, this is really important, products. Those are products. They're products of industry, my friends. Industrialized synthetic products. It's only a market square. That's all this is. So we can decide to buy those products with their side effects, with the promulgators who are entrenched in the industry having no idea what the side effects are. Or we could use products that are homeopathic that don't have side effects. And you know what the essence of the medicine is because you own a Materia Medica. You know what it can do. You know the upside and you know the downside. Not that there are side effects because we don't have side effects, but you know the scope of your medicine. Tainted, lofty. That's the difference. I'm surprised they're still keeping me on this platform. I really am, because I'm being more and more honest with you. That is dirty. I'm sorry. It's a dirty market there. Doesn't mean every single drug out there has no value at all. Of course, there's value to certain synthetic drugs. I always say, if you get hit by a Zamboni and your arm is over there and you're flattened over here, of course you need general anesthesia in order to stitch your arm back on. Of course. We use those drugs for when they are needed. But when we've got these medicines, these homeopathic medicines that have been the same for the past 220 years, used by the finest medical minds known to mankind, in many hospitals throughout the world. We had more homeopathic hospitals in the US, my friends, than there were conventional doctors up until about the 1940s. Yes, indeed. We had 100. They had, I think it was 97. I've written a little book about it with all the photographs and everything. So let's talk about those infections, okay? Those lung infections. When someone is prone to lung infections, or even if they're not, but they feel something coming on, I don't feel so hot. I can feel it coming on. The moment you feel, that person is going to get sick. The moment that is experienced, aconitum 200 mixed with bryonia 30. Quick onset. Aconitum is all about at the onset. It's you're driving to get some errands done, and all of a sudden you say, you know what? It feels like something's coming on. Keep aconitum 200 mixed with bryonia 30 in your purse, in your briefcase, in your diaper bag, in your glove compartment. Keep that by your side, especially during winter. Now it's Australia; it's the opposite. But as we're going into winter in this part of the hemisphere, you want aconitum 200 mixed with bryonia 30. Now we don't know whether or not it's a lung infection, do we? All we know is that it's possibly a cold. Something mucosal going on, sinuses, the throat, the bronchioles, but something's going on. We can feel that something's coming on. You start with that. Why do we start with that? Because it is a great starter and it can abort the whole thing. And we don't even have to think about a lung infection. Won't even go that far. That's what's so great about it. We could abort it, even though the person might be prone to these kinds of things. We can still potentially abort it. Is it in every case? Of course not. There is nothing that is 100%, my friends. It doesn't exist. This is not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. It's pretty darn good. So we use aconitum 200 mixed with bryonia 30. And if in spite of that, it carries on, maybe it's a lower level, it's not as big, it carries on, or we didn't know enough to do that, or we didn't have our aconitum bryonia on hand, which shame on you, you need to have it on hand. And it does start to go into the lungs, and now it's more ripened. It's developed. It's day 3. Can aconitum bryonia still help? It could potentially still help. Yes, indeed. But bryonia, and those who are in my mighty members understand this. You know this, that I've read to you from, and I'm continually reading to you from the book by Dr. James Compton Burnett, who talks specifically, and he wrote in the 1800s, my friends. Nothing's changed, as I said. He was brilliant then, and his work remains brilliant today. He talks about bryonia and how valuable it is for lungs. So what if it's not bronchitis? What if we don't know what it is yet. Sometimes we don't ever find out what it is. Does it feel as though it's in the lungs? Good enough. Do we need to identify? It could be useful potentially if this doesn't act. Then we move on to more information. Yes. But if this works, if it helps, we don't need more information, do we? We can treat the condition with this aconitum 200 bryonia 30 at the first onset of it. And if that doesn't do enough, then we just stay with bryonia. How often? How severe is the question always is, how severe is the situation? Is the person gasping for breath, extremely weakened, very, very sick? Then we're going to be using the medicine more frequently, every 3 hours, perhaps. If it's just the onset and, I just don't feel so well, maybe I'll just take a dose, go to bed in the middle of the night. If I wake up and I feel it again, okay, I'll take another dose. So maybe twice a day, 3 times a day. For how long? For as long as it's needed. For as long as you know that it's acting and it's helping. Isn't that cool? Isn't that great? Now, what happens if those medicines don't act? Sure, it can happen. Not only can it happen, it often happens. So, what if instead the person is weak? They have a lot of weakness. They're just exhausted. And the exhaustion is a little frightening to the person. They're saying, this is scary. This is worse than just being sick. I mean, I feel like this could be really serious. And they're going down that line of thinking. Then we're going to use a different remedy. We're going to use arsenicum album. And when we use bryonia 30, we use bryonia alone, or anytime, I like bryonia in a 30, sometimes a 200. Arsenicum album I would use in a 30 or a 200 as well. And how frequently? In the same frequency as I just told you regarding aconitum bryonia, as well as bryonia by itself. Arsenicum album. Carmen says, took aconitum plus bryonia when I got COVID. How do we know we've got that? Is there anyone here who trusts that test? That test is meaningless. So whatever it is, whether we call it this virus or that virus or bacteria infection, or it's bronchitis, or it's pneumonia, or it's bronchiolitis, or it's strep, whatever is happening in the throat, we're going to go by this, by what I've just described to you. And then if that doesn't act, then we're going to go towards the symptoms. We're not going to treat the symptoms. We're going to use the symptoms. Symptoms are our friends because symptoms are representations of what's going on in the body. I don't mean that you're going to have to, symptoms don't tell us what's going on. They just give us the information. What information? What remedy to use. So symptoms never lie unless they're side effects. And then basically they are representation of the drug that's being used. But we can still use those side effects to determine what medicine to use. Okay, let's see what some questions that are coming up. I love it. You're very animated. Love it. Del Rey all the way, Leah. Kansas. Catherine from Massachusetts. From Chickpea. Is it chickpea or is it chickpea? You wrote Chicopee, I think. I was in Massachusetts when I was pregnant with our first son, and I saw that word. I thought it was chickpea, but I guess it's Chicopee. And I used to call my son that before he was even born. Okay. Too much salt spoils the soup. Dose appropriately. Yes. Use the frequency appropriately. Absolutely. Those pellets are each of you imprint on each other, melding your family. What a great way to put it. Thanks, Trisha. That's a lovely way to think about it. because antibiotics rev up the endocrine system, and it is that system trying to get rid of the antibiotic poison is what actually does the work. Very interesting way of putting it, Leanne. The endocrine system, which is why a lot of people end up with thyroid problems after having had antibiotics. I was so happy to know homeopathy. I felt so fortunate and safe when we had a huge snowstorm and could not get out for a few days. Thank you, Joette, for teaching us knowledge is power and confidence. You bet, Mary. You bet. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. Can we start some homeopathic hospitals up again? Good luck. You know how hospitals are funded, right? Good luck. It's not impossible. I would say it's impossible now. But there will come a time, I believe, when the jig will be up for not just us. More people are catching on to what's going on. And there could be a change. There could be a shift. But boy, it's going to have to be a worldwide shift. You know, I have a friend who's a homeopath who years ago was very excited because one of the local hospitals in Buffalo was talking about putting a wing on that was holistic. And they wanted a homeopath, so they had hired her. And I was happy for her, really very happy for her, but I wasn't hopeful. I knew it wouldn't last because it's an idea that someone might have within the hospital, but once the powers that be, the funders, those who buy the wings of the hospital, those who offer the grants, got a whiff of it, they would minimize it. They would say, well, yeah, you can have some courses in yoga, you know, and maybe some courses in meditation, because that's not going to interfere with their product lines. So, and then they water it down, and then eventually it just dies out. And I've seen it happen. That was the first time I saw it happen. That was back in the 80s, maybe late 80s. Every time I hear about it, everybody's all excited. Oh yeah, we're gonna have a homeopath, and we're gonna have a naturopath, a functional MD. Oh yeah, well, okay. Let me know how it goes in about a year. Okay, we have several groups of us here in Lawrence studying. Yes, I'm glad to hear it. You want these groups, my friends. You want groups around you. You want people around you of like mind. If you don't own a remedy, you want to know somebody else who does, right? You want to be able to. You want to also parlay off of someone else's information, and you want to be able to get information from others. Yep. Let's just see. We got some good comments here. Can you get the combination from OHM, the aconite and bryonia? You certainly can. If you don't, then you just mix them yourself in your mouth. Yes. But let's say you run out. Then you can just mix them in yourself. Aconitum 200 mixed with bryonia 30 in the mouth simultaneously. Yep. No, we don't mix arsenicum and bryonia together. Only aconitum and bryonia. Yes. Use the symptoms. Thank you, Dolly, from PA. We're finishing up Gateway 2, and we'll continue beyond. I will start a chat on our Mighty's blog so we can get together. Okay, I think that was a comment to someone else. Wait a minute, chickpea means, wait a minute, hold on, where's chickpea? Good thing you did not call him. Means rushing waters in Native American. Come on. Get out. I did not know that. It's a great word. Homeopathic centers, then. Don't call them hospitals. Well, yeah, it's certainly a possibility. Part of my elevator speech is where I tell people that what I do is little pharma, little cost, little side effects, little time on the medicine, and little pills, and little amount. Nice job. Small, little. Very nice, very well thought. I use tea bar self twice a day, and I think what she's talking about maybe could be for lung infections. Heat bar self can also be very valuable. So can antimonium tart. I really like antimonium tart for lung infections, and that is generally determined by the fact that there is rattling in the chest. First, I would start with aconitum 200 with bryonia 30 because we don't know what it is yet, right? We don't know what it is. It's the onset. But I do like antimonium tart as another possibility too. My 2-year-old granddaughter was in my play kitchen making me food. I said, "What are you making me?" "I'm making you sugar balls, Nana. Put it under your tongue and you will feel better." Awesome start. You bet. You bet. Now we're talking. This is what we want, the next generation. I want children to learn this. It's very important because we need children to have autonomy. We need children to question the bigs, just as we're saying, big pharma, big corporate entity, big government, bigs, and start coming home for answers. You want your children to be as far away from the way the culture is today as possible. I don't think I have to tell you. I think you already know that, but it's important to be mentioned again and again and again. Now, antimonium tart, let me go back to that for a second. When I use antimonium tart, my friends, I usually use a 200. Look at this. Monica says we use antimonium tart 200 because of the heavy pressure on the lungs during the illness last year and took only 2 doses to alleviate the pressure. Yes, pressure too. Listen, just because I'm giving you a snapshot description, such as rattling in the chest, doesn't mean that's the only reason you would use antimonium tart. I'm giving you kind of a little tease. Then I expect you to go to your Materia Medica and read up on antimonium tart and read the lung section and other areas of the remedy to see whether or not it fits this particular case. We're loving your Cool Kids curriculum. So much fun. Offers lots of teachable moments. Thanks for producing it. Thank you, Cassandra. My boys have a very deep cough. I've been using antimonium tart for a few days and one has improved, but the others are still coughing so hard. Not sure what to try now. Anybody have any ideas for Abby? My grandson knows the rattle of a remedy bottle and opens his mouth like a little bird. I know, isn't it adorable? My dog did that. Buster used to do that. When he didn't feel well, he would follow me around the house until I walked into the room where I kept the remedies. And then he would stand there and wag his tail for a moment to give me the sign that that's what he wanted. So as I pulled out the remedies from the cabinet, he would get a little more animated. And I would give him the remedy. You would think that what he wanted was the taste. I mean, it's only 4 teeny tiny little pills. You'd think he would maybe want more. No, the moment I put it in my hand and he took it from my hand, he walked away. He was done. And then he went and sat next to my husband, assuming that he was going to feel better. It had happened so many times in Buster's life that he felt better after a dose of the remedy, he knew to go to the medicine cabinet. My dog follows me too. Love it. May Buster rest in peace. Thank you. I miss my poodle. My son ripped his ALC and his knee, pulling a little bone with it. He was in so much pain. The usual arnica and hypericum did not work. He described it to me. Shocks were running down his leg. I went to my Materia Medica to find something for that pain and found Calimere 200. It fitted. Yes, that's right. Calimere is a good choice. Also, hypericum can be used for shocks of pain like that as well. You bet. We have used cuprum when it feels like you can't take a full breath. Cuprum is a great medicine for coughs. because they're spasmodic, and cuprum is all about spasms. It's great for a whooping cough. Cuprum is a great medicine for coughs. And I usually use it in a low potency, like a 30, sometimes even a 6. Buster is proof that it's not placebo. You're right, Monica. Absolutely. It's not just Buster. I've used homeopathy on plants. I've used homeopathy on ducks when we had them, and our chickens and our goats, and wild animals, birds. Did a blog recently about a bird that flew into our window. Yep. Is it okay to touch the remedy? Listen, here's the thing. If you just gassed up your car and you have fuel on your hand and you put the remedy on your hand, it could ruin it. If you use, and please don't, antibiotic soap or antibiotic, what is that stuff called? Lotion that they've been pushing for the last 2 years, don't do it. But if you do, and it's on your hand, and then you put the remedy on your hand, yeah, it could cause trouble. It could antidote it. Cause trouble. It could just antidote it. But if your hands are clean and you use soap without a scent and you don't have anything on your hands other than you, it's fine. Okay, my friends, I love reading this stuff. Sanitizer. Thank you, Pam. Sanitizer. You don't use hand sanitizer unless you make it yourself, with the usual good stuff. Don't buy products like that, my friends. If you must sanitize, and I think sanitizing is simply washing with warm water and soap. But if you must sanitize, make your own sanitizer. Okay, guys, love to see you. Love you all. See you next week. We'll probably still be talking about alternatives to antibiotics. There's so many things I can teach you about that. I have a whole course on it. The alternatives to antibiotics. If you're interested, you go to Joette Calabrese courses, /courses, Joette Calabrese /courses, or it could be courses /Joette Calabrese. You go to my blog, and there it is, alternatives to antibiotics. And there you go. It's an entire online course. Joette's Learning Center. I never did get all of this stuff straight. God bless you all. See you next week. Bye.